So we are discussing chapters 5 and 6 of iRobot. I want to say thanks to the panel that we have here today. We have Mr. Tim Pruitt over here to my left, your right. On the other side of him is Russ Stapleton from What in the World was Rex. Down below, who's walking away, is Tracy Glenn. And Miss Brenda Pruitt is on the other side, on the bottom. All the links are in the description. Go check everything out. Amazing friends. I think we're going to have a group discussion. I actually read all the chapters, so what could go wrong, right? All right, let's get to chat real quick. There's not too many people in yet. Nick Willa, Annie, and Tim Pruitt. Welcome in, guys. I know there is an echo. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think it's better now that Tracy put headphones on. So
that fixed that. Awesome.
Of course, now he's made everybody deaf.
What was we clapping about?
Fruit flies. I hate fruit flies. I'm clapping because you're all special. Special, I tell you.
I'm special. Right?
Oh gosh! All right. So chapter 5, title is Liar. Here comes the kid to disturb me. What do we think of the chapter? You guys talk.
Well, Tim and I were talking before, and we were discussing how these next 2 chapters are getting interesting because it's getting into some psychology of robotics and how the thinking of the robots is coming out, and it's a little bit more interesting as to, they definitely are not trusting the robots, and things are happening, that they don't quite understand because of what's going on. It's not as much physical, or you can see what's wrong. Now it's happening in the brains of these robots, and they're trying to figure that stuff out. So it's like robotic psychology now. So it's definitely getting interesting. So
well, it's also, to me, I mean, if you get a robot that's already capable of lying, or at least telling the story he thinks you want to hear, you're already sliding down a pretty slippery slope, I think. Because he wasn't supposed to be able to do that, much less read minds too, but
but he couldn't lie, only for the fact that he was still following the first order.
True.
Yeah,
the first law.
Do no harm to the human or something.
Right. Which, I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit on that part, but
I'm sorry. That's the only part of the chapter that I actually liked. We'll get to that, why it did that, and what. That
it wasn't necessarily malicious. It was just that's what he thought it would needed to do. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of the theme of all of the chapters. It's that, the humans are the ones that think that there are really something drastically wrong with the robots, but the robots are just doing the way they were programmed. Right. They're doing what they think is right, other than the last chapter that we're gonna talk about. But
yeah, you're all gonna hate me. I named this book and I didn't read the last chapter, so.
Yeah, you pick it up.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You guys extended grace to me when I was way behind, so I can't say anything.
You would think I would have used that time in my solitude of basement to read, but I did not.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's like doing homework. You don't really want to do it.
Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say within the last hour from getting home from work, I read that liar chapter.
Yeah.
Then I realized it was 3:00 and I had to stop reading.
Well, they're already for U.S. robotics or robots, whatever they're called, is supposed to be making all these super intelligent or better robots, and yet they don't seem to realize that they're creating machines that are already way smarter than they are. And pretty soon they're going to run out of options here, I think.
Yeah.
Because they're going to, no matter what they do, the robots are going to be able to figure out a way around it.
Well, now
that's what this one's doing, lying. I mean, he's not supposed to hurt anybody, but he already knows that if he tells the truth, it's going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So he tells them falsehoods to make them feel better, and then he just perpetuates.
Right. We haven't really gotten to why the robots are banned on Earth yet. We haven't heard that story yet.
Yeah.
And
I've been
so,
wondering about that.
In the flashbacks, because we're talking to Susan Calvin, as she's retiring, at kind of the beginning of each chapter and then at the end again. But you don't know what a robot has done to cause this yet. And so that could be we could be building up to that. But at the same time,
they didn't lock them even back when we had Robbie.
Well, true, but that's true. There was, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know what happened to cause people to think that way, or if it was just that they were already just somewhat afraid of it because they could do so much that and we're able to do so much. So it's kind of the same. To me, it's kind of the same mentality as where robots are taking over people's jobs and things like that, and and you're getting much more industrial and things, and people are losing their jobs because of machinery. So I don't know if that might have been a similar thinking, or if it just fear.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you're looking, this is written in 1950, right? So Isaac Asimov's already is dealing with prejudice in the real world that he was writing and he was living in. So he turned that prejudice of what was going on currently and turned it to the robot prejudice. So if you look at it, it's basically he took his time and what was going on there and supplemented one race for robots. Right. And that's where you get, I mean, I think you have to look at the time and place when it was written, or the time it was written, the time, everybody, the certain races look down on other races thinking they were inferior and dumber, dumber or whatever. Here, if you replace that robot, they're not dumb. In fact, they probably are even smarter than the people that think that they're smarter than. I do like the first chapter and I'll only talk about the first chapter, and I'll let you guys take off on the second chapter that we'll discuss tonight. But I do like, as I'm reading this, I knowing as much science fiction as I've watched, even Star Trek, because I've watched the original Star Trek, even Star Trek borrowed from Asimov as far as putting a robot in a position where it fails because it can't comprehend what's a lie and what's a truth.
Right.
And if you're not remembering, there was the episode in Star Trek where Mudd's women. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I do. I remember Mudd's women.
And how did he defeat the robots? I always lie. So if it's a lie, it's the truth. If it's the truth, it's a lie. So, and that what's put.
I didn't remember that part.
That's how he ended up defeating the robot women.
Very confusing.
Yeah. Hey, Garrett.
No cartwheels today, Garrett. Sorry, buddy.
Hey, Garrett.
Is he already starting?
No.
He will. Don't worry. All right. I mean, we're only 13 minutes into this, and we've already covered chapter 5, I think.
Well, I mean,
we could say about it.
We could go more into it. I mean, I think we can go. I mean, there's a whole lot more that we could, we talk because we can get into what he was actually doing. For those that have not read it,
Yes, please do.
We've got Dr. Calvin, we've got Alfred Lanning, and Peter Bogart, Milton Ash. So these are some new characters, and they're all robotic scientists that are basically, again, trying to develop a new robot, a mind-reading robot.
No, they weren't trying to develop it.
Well, they were trying to figure it out.
It happened accidentally.
True.
And they're trying to figure out what created the mind-reading robot.
Right. They're trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, they even say they want to keep it a secret because they don't want people to find out that they can actually do it. So
no, I mean, can you imagine if they don't like them already? Can you imagine what they would? That would really set things a tilt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I took it off, too, because they even say that he can read brain waves, and he's almost telepathic in that sense. And I took it almost as to like the series and the Alexas that, and the algorithms that are trying to figure out what we want to see before we know we want to see it. That kind of a thing for just to compare to now, but yeah.
I think this is part of where Asimov, Tina, do you want to say something? You were gesturing. This is also where I think he's starting to get into the possibilities of robots taking over, for lack of a better way to explain it, because they're creating these positronic brains to do something, and suddenly they're coming up with something they don't understand at all. And to me, that's just a sign that they're already starting to lose control.
Yeah.
They
say,
are out.
I wrote down the number. They said that there's 75,234 different operations for building a positronic brain, and any one could go sideways and create something they don't know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, what was this one's name again?
This was
Herbie.
Herbie actually knows what they did, what happened, but he's not telling. And they don't tell that either. The chapter ends, and they don't really tell anything about that. Not that, probably because Asimov didn't really know why it would happen.
Well, he doesn't get into the science of it. But Herbie doesn't want to tell them because he's afraid that he's going to upset them.
Yeah, hurt their feelings.
And that's the whole point, is that this robot is telling these lies, telling them what they want to hear so that they don't get their feelings hurt.
Right. Kind of crazy.
Which actually makes him
a
little more human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it just makes him empathetic to where, he does not want, because he knows that it will hurt that person, and that's against the first law.
Right.
So
the question is, does he really understand why?
Is that why you think your kids lie, Tina? Because they don't want to hurt your feelings?
They're just children of the corn.
When it was me, I just didn't want to get caught. Is that what she said? I'm not sure.
She said they're children of the corn.
Oh, well, that's right.
And that's what that's kind of what they think, is that he's lying because they think he's hiding something.
Right. It took
and
she finally figured it out,
rather than So that's the thing, and so that's why they get upset with it, because they just think that he's lying to be lying.
Well, I thought do no harm meant like physically. I didn't know they could actually. And
I think that's where they were thinking too. That they weren't thinking about the emotional side of it; they were thinking the physical side of it.
So when they get to this robot, Tina, what are you doing?
This freaking sun's driving me nuts. So I was making puppets.
I thought you were playing with the super glue again.
All right, so the do no harm is meant for physical harm, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what we assume anyway.
That's the thing. When the law was written, they never imagined that a robot could understand feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a robot comes around and understands feelings. Now, all of a sudden, it does take a different perspective on that do no harm.
Yeah. Well, and they were even upset with him too because he doesn't really want to do the tasks that he's been given. All he wants to do is read books and study emotion. And that kind of thing. He doesn't want to do the math, and even though he can do it, in a split second. He doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't want to do, the certain jobs, So I don't know. It's just interesting the way that it thinks. So of course we get into the fact that Susan kind of has a crush on Milt Nash. And then Herbie tells her that he does too, even though he doesn't. So, hey Nate, come in. And Bogart wants to become the new leader of the group or whatever of the company.
Yeah.
And so they tell him, Herbie tells him that the other guy's resigning. You're going to be the new boss, even though that wasn't true either.
At this point, I kind of just wanted to take my own screwdriver and just stick it into this robot and rewire the whole thing. I got so excited. I was like, oh, he loves her back. Oh, I love that. And then crash and burn.
Hold on. What were you going to take?
A screwdriver.
A screwdriver?
Yeah. A screwdriver.
Or a screwdriver?
Screwdriver. You happy?
Tomato. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Remember, Tracy, do no harm.
That's right.
I do it I do it just to, get her going.
Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, we understand what happened with that board game. You had to throw it, so.
I lost too. You got nothing. You got nothing.
Whatever. Whatever.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I looked up this book. Wikipedia has got some. I just wanted to see if they said if there was any like commentary on any of this, but I found this interesting adaptations of this chapter itself. And in 1958, Liar was adapted into an episode of the radio show Exploring Tomorrow. And in 1969, it was adapted into an episode of the British television series Out of the Unknown. Although only a few clips of this episode are known to exist. The story was broadcast as an episode, as episode 4 of 5-part, 15-minute drama. Okay, words are hard. Adaptation of Asimov's iRobot on BBC Radio in February 2017. Anyways, just cute little facts I thought were cute. I don't know, interesting. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and like we say, it's been adapted and made into, put into other movies like Star Trek and other shows and things where the emotional side of robots. I mean, the character of Data from Next Generation, all he wants is emotion. That's
right.
That's how his entire character develops, is because he wants to be more human, and people are afraid of that. So yeah, it's very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in his case, it's almost opposite. I mean, he's extremely advanced in almost every way, except this way.
Mm-hmm.
And in this book, Asimov's got a robot that's not nearly as advanced as a Data would be, or a Cybertron, or whatever he's called.
Cybertron.
And what is he?
Transformers?
No. Well, okay, but okay, what is Data? He's a cyber something or something.
He's a cybernetic.
Cybernetic, yes.
He's a cyborg.
Well, he's an android.
Right, an android. Cyborg.
Android.
Because a cyborg is human.
That would be the Borg.
Pieces.
Right.
An android is a human, as a atomic or something.
Okay.
It's a humanoid robot. So
audio animatronic.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think Tina's going to shut that blind.
Yeah, probably so.
But I thought this chapter was interesting, and only for the fact that it just put a different perspective on robots, and just talking about human feelings and why do we white lie? We white lie to not hurt other people's feelings.
Mm-hmm. That's true too. I wasn't really looking at it from that perspective, but that's true. It is again, I can't think of the word, not an analogy.
Yeah, it's an analogy
of true life for people,
right?
In that sense,
it's like when Brenda makes dinner and it doesn't taste so well, and you tell her that it tastes great,
and I know better.
See, we've been married 40-something years. She can read minds.
No.
At least this one.
I can read his face.
Okay, I missed something good.
Yeah, you did. Too late. We were discussing the fact that when Brenda fixes me something to eat that really sucks, and I say it's really great, she knows better.
Oh.
But what we said, it's an analogy of why humans lie. Why do we do white lies? Do we mean to white lie? No. Why do we do it? So we don't hurt other people's feelings.
When they're young, when children are young, they learn to lie because they don't want to get their butt busted or get in trouble, and then 2, they also don't want to hurt their parents' feelings if they think about it enough.
Right. Or they don't want to disappoint them. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, I mean, it is. He is kind of he is a kid in that sense, to where he didn't understand. Yeah, he doesn't quite understand the fact that because they even explain that to him at the end, is that don't you realize that by not telling us what's wrong with you, or by telling us these things, you really are hurting us.
And that's exactly the loop that Calvin put him in to shut him down. Exactly.
Which I thought the ending was like, man, she's mad.
She's a woman. And listen, you don't piss off a woman.
Hell hath no fury than a woman scorned.
That's right.
Scorned?
Scorned.
Okay.
Oh, now I got Brenda going on it. That's it.
Why do I talk around you guys?
I don't know why you continue to talk around me. That's the problem. It's just... No, I love it.
I like how it kind of comes and goes. It zips that way too. I mean, sometimes you don't notice it was zip. Well, it's always there, but sometimes it's really strong and sometimes it's not. Marie's kind of like that too. Tina, sometimes you don't quite notice it, but then boom, it kicks in.
Well,
it's when she relaxes. Because she's in the middle. Okay. Because she's in the middle of New York State, so she's adapted her linguistic skills for that area.
Because when my accent comes out, nobody understands me. You know what I mean? They're like, "What?"
I do.
Seriously, I get ragged on so bad up here when my accent comes out, and I'm like, okay.
It's either she's mad or she's relaxed.
Yeah. And I got some Italian in me, so when I'm mad, it's like,
watch out for the hands.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Oh me.
All right, I broke Tina.
Oh man.
Oh, God.
You guys can move on to the next chapter. I mean, I'll listen in and I'll try to because
I'm sure
I think we've covered all that chapter, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah, the liar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Little lost robot. I'm here for the making Tina laugh portion of the show.
Well, just to start out, this is where we really start going astray.
Yeah.
We start figuring out reasons to alter Rule 1, which should have been the golden rule for robots forever, you would think. But we're already figuring out we might need to change that a little bit. So we're starting to mess with it.
Again, it's because of military applications.
True. That's a good point.
And so, that's the thing. They want robots that can survive and not or that can bend the rules somewhat. I mean, they are not necessarily using them as weapons, but they want They want them to be able to use them so that they can do research to create their hyper-atomic drives, their hyperdrives, which I thought was cool too, because that's a whole other different technology that Asimov's bringing into it, because this is the first time that we've heard of, they're trying to figure out how to do interstellar travel, I mean, they've already been all throughout the solar system, which we don't know how they've done that.
True.
But
they don't talk about it.
But they're getting into the hyperatomic drive and all that top secret stuff and gamma rays and all of that kind of stuff, and so it gets kind of interesting as far as that goes when with the science fiction part of it, because there's more of that. But we've got some new characters, and this was in this chapter as well.
Mm-hmm.
With
this,
don't step on that again.
Well, we've got Major General Colner. He's the military guy. We've got Bogart back, and then Dr. Calvin, and then there's a couple others that we'll meet later on. Gerald Black,
be right back,
and Walensky. He's the electrician. But most of it is about the fact that this entire chapter is the fact that they have lost a robot. Well, not really lost him. He's there, but they've got an extra robot.
Right.
So they started out with 62, but now they've got 63. And after they brought up new robots from Earth, they ended up with an extra robot that was already there, who has been working with them but not working correctly. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they didn't know that because they'd been hiding that. So
exactly. That's where the military secrecy comes into play. That probably could have helped them figure out what's going on a whole lot sooner if there wasn't so much top secret, and so much secrecy.
Well, I mean,
like now.
Well,
yeah. That's the point, I think.
Back then.
I mean, it's a secret to begin with, so the upper level management or military, whoever, is hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are working down here are hiding stuff even from them because they know they don't want this to get out.
Right.
And, they're just one step away from, sick and kill here.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But, Asimov, we live near Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And if you guys know about Oak Ridge, it was one of the birthplaces of the atomic bomb, not the only one, but one of the places.
Yeah.
And it was a super secret place for a long time. I mean, it was created and went on for years before anybody knew it really existed.
The secret city.
They still call it the secret city. And what I'm diverging a little bit, but I have a point. Well, and a lot of stuff went on there for a lot of years that nobody knew anything about. I mean, even up till probably not so distant past, to be honest. But they buried stuff. There's areas out there where you can't go. There's water out there that you don't want to touch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there were a lot of things going on that they didn't always know about. Sometimes I think they honestly didn't know the ramifications of it. And will you stop? and sometimes maybe they did, but they didn't want anybody else to know about it. So,
yeah, probably.
So that's a reality. I mean, that stuff really happened.
Yeah.
Come back, Tina. I'm sorry.
Were you making fun of her? Was that why you were holding that paper up? I started to say, and I was giving you credit.
You made her cry, or you made her cry, Tracy.
I started to say Tracy's got a problem too, but he was making fun. I didn't realize.
Yeah. Welcome in Joey's world and Rob, and welcome, guys.
But they're tears of joy.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh boy. Phew. I'm sorry, Tim.
No, that's quite all right.
I caught nothing of what you said. So
well, I was just saying,
apologize.
we've been hiding a lot of stuff for a long time. Let's just put it that way.
But of course, like you were talking about, they've got the secrecy going on, and when Calvin finds out what they have done, what's the first thing she says?
Oh, I can't remember the quote, but
she says,
she wasn't happy about it.
Just destroy them all.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Because she finds out that they've messed with the first law. She's afraid.
Yeah.
She knows that something's going to go wrong. And
it's Terminator all over. The Matrix, the Terminator, all of these. I mean, you got to remember, is if you look at what's the scientific movies that are out there, Terminator and Matrix, they have no first law.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah. And this kind of also piggybacks a little bit from the movie, the iRobot movie. They use, this is where I think some of the idea for the movie came, that they've got these robots, these new robots who, Will Smith's character, definitely doesn't trust them, and he would rather just destroy them all, get rid of them all, because he knows something bad is going to happen. And I think that's where Calvin, she knows that, if we start messing with the first law, if we start messing with the laws of robotics, they're there for a reason, and we have programmed all robots up till now to be a certain way. Well, now we're changing the rule, and what's going to happen, and so now in this chapter, we see that little bit of things changing. and there's going to be trouble. So,
and her solution in one way was a quick way to fix the problem.
Right.
If you can't figure out which one it is, let's just get rid of all of them.
Right.
But I have to think underlying is kind of what you're saying. To her, it's if he's smart enough, if you've made one that way, who's to say he can't train the others to be that way?
Exactly. And I think that's what she's afraid of. And throughout this chapter, she talks about that don't let them be around each other, because after that first test, he changes all of their minds. And tells them,
sneaky like that,
and teaches them that, hey, we don't really need to do this test.
Here's what got me. These are scientists. Is she a psychologist or a scientist?
She's a psychologist.
She's
okay.
But she's a robotic psychologist.
A robotic psychologist, yeah.
So here we have a robotic psychologist and a good scientist, and we're surrounded by amazingly smart people, right? And they can't figure out any other solution besides, let's just trash them all.
Well,
which she does. They do.
She does. I mean, I'm sure she wants to figure it out, but at the same time, she's afraid. And that's the safest solution, is just to get rid of them all, and then reprogram with new robots with the first law back. That's what her fear is that she does not want to be around robots without the first law. She's afraid that they're gonna hurt her.
See, this is the other thing got me. Go ahead, Brenda. Do you have something to say?
I just said I would be too.
Oh, it's interesting to me though and it's what makes me think there's a deeper motive or an ulterior motive going on here somewhere, or would think that, because, I mean, why change the first law to get them to let them expose these workers to gamma rays? I mean, why not just lock them in a cage somewhere so they can't get out and interfere at that moment? Well, I mean, there's got to be other ways around that besides reprogramming.
They do mention that, and that's where, like, Gerald Black, he even states that, hey, I can do the work without the robots, but it just takes longer. They're just more convenient.
Well, true, true.
And so they're just, they are a tool, but that's the thing. It's almost like they're abusing the power in order to use a tool, and it's just, I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Other than there might be some other motives behind it. So
yeah, at least long term,
right? Which again, we were talking about before we started, that things will start to escalate. I feel anyway, and that we'll slowly start to get to. I think we've only got I think 4 more chapters left.
Yeah, we're well over halfway through the book, or over halfway anyway.
5 for me.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I think there's 200 and a few pages, and we're at least 142 now. I think the end of that chapter is around 142 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we find out, of course, now. Okay, first off, the robots are called NS2s or Nesters. And so Nestor 10 is the one that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And they discover that Gerald Black, who was supposed the human in charge of him, got mad at him because he wasn't doing something he was supposed to, and basically cussed him out and told him to go lose yourself.
Yeah, not just go away, but go lose yourself. Go get lost or whatever.
Which to a robot, especially in the tone that he heard it, to a robot that they mean it literally. And so he is going to go and lose himself. So no one can find him. And so he goes and blends in with all of the other robots. Well, they can't figure out which one is him because none of them are telling him. Basically, Nestor is lying, or Nestor 10 is lying, to say that he never has worked there. And so, neither has any of the other robots. So they can't figure out which one is the right one. So they come up with this test to find this robot.
Can we stop right there a moment?
Yeah.
Let me get both hands in here somehow. There's something, maybe I missed this, but and I'm thinking there was a reason, but I can't remember what it was. Why would you not just put a serial number on these things so you can read the data plate like we do every other machine in the world, and you know which one it was? Why would you not do that?
I know.
Because it makes sense.
I guess.
Well, every other thing we've got in the world, I mean, even this phone has a serial number in it, or a ID number. They
were even asking, since Nestor 10's been here and has been working, certainly, because he's not fresh off the factory, certainly there's got to be some kind of he's
wear marks
or something that makes him stand out. And they even say, no, we don't know. We don't know any difference. It's like, what in the world?
that part blew me away. I kept thinking, look at his data plate. look at his serial number. Surely to God it's on there somewhere on the back of his head where he can't see it or something.
and says, because that would ruin the plot, Tim.
yeah, it would. That's true. Good point.
You said there's only 4 chapters left. I can only come up with 3.
Well, it might be just 3. I'm not sure.
It might be 3. Yeah, I just know it's like 80 pages or something.
Yeah, it's not much further. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to escalate towards the end to where we find out kind of things are going to get worse before they get better.
Yeah,
well, I think what you're given. I think you might, and I'm assuming at the end of this book, you have the inevitable conflict of man versus machine.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that
or something. So, yeah.
And realistically, today's day and age, we're having this discussion about AI. You know,
True.
How far do we go before it's too late?
Yeah.
Well, we've been having it. Think about it.
Yeah.
Kubrick did 2001 when I was in high school, or maybe even before high school, maybe middle school. But
then again,
and Dave, which I thought was ironic that we had a Dave in here.
Yeah.
You know, Dave's already taken over, and that was
Hal. Hal was
50 or Hal. That's right. It was Hal. That's right. Dave was one of the guys. That's right.
But what I'm saying is again, this was written in 1950. I think every science fiction author, you know, other than some of like H.G. Wells and some of these other ones, more of our futuristic stories come from the mind of. I mean, how many times before reading what's the brain? What they call the brain again? Positronic brain.
Yeah, the positronic brain.
How many times have you heard that in movies or in TV series? Positronic brain. That's what they used in Star Trek. That's what they've used in a lot of these things. A lot of our dictionaries and our definitions come out of Asimov's mind. Mm-hmm. This guy is brilliant. Looking back at it, I mean,
he wrote over 500 books. I think he's the one I read. I looked him up, and I mean, I knew who he was, but he wrote over 500 books, and I can't remember how many papers he wrote above and beyond that. It's amazing.
Wow.
How his mind, I mean, he must have been really brilliant. I mean, just
and it's not to say that he didn't take snippets from other things in the past either. Right. You know,
everybody has inspiration.
Right. So it just and realistically, I think if you look at any of our so-called modern science fiction writers, I think they owe it all to some of these early scientific writers. They just fine-tuned what they were coming out with.
Well, and then like you said too, it's coming from the cultural things that are going on at the time, and even the science of the time. I mean, because it's in the 50s, it's after the atomic bomb has been dropped, and things are starting, worldwide that are escalated from that, and so it's a futurist type mentality because you've got all this new power now. What's going to happen?
I mean, we haven't lost. I mean, this is 1950s. They haven't had Sputnik hasn't happened yet. So, and just thinking of what he's thinking about. I mean, they say if you're looking back at Toy Story, the movie, the first Toy Story, what changed was the Space Ranger. Soon as and exactly in Toy Story 2, when Prospector Pete pretty much says as soon as Sputnik went up, out went cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
You're right.
Is that why they call that movie Space Cowboys?
Well, that was a movie. That was different.
I mean, yeah.
There was a very good space. That was a very good movie.
And you go back to pop culture at the time, and everything was westerns, and the toys and things, and the shows that are on TV, and everything's the more family friendly, and you get you do have the westerns and things, but then as soon as the space stuff happens, you get Flash Gordon and the monster movies, and of course now the monster movies came out in the 30s, but still
I love the monster
movies. Science fiction just continues to grow and grow and grow.
Well, we get the classic B movies after the atomic age.
Exactly.
Once the atomic age happens, then you get the killer ants, the giant people.
I saw that.
Because they were always affected by radiation. I mean, that was
because of radiation. Yep.
If you think about it, that's where Godzilla comes from. Godzilla is created by an atomic bomb or atomic experiment in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
That's how Godzilla was created.
Well, Spider-Man was created the same way.
Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider.
Well, that's what I mean. Radioactive Spider-Man. That's what I mean. But we had some space science fiction stuff before that. I don't know. You guys may not be old enough to remember this, but when I was growing up, I can remember Saturday morning, or maybe it was matinee type stuff, but B westerns and stuff. But sometimes there were serials attached with those movies. And I can remember a couple of different serials that were along the lines of Space Invaders or Men from the Center of the Earth or but it was a different kind of science fiction. It wasn't. Things did change after Sputnik.
They pull a lot from Jules Verne and from
yeah.
H.G. Wells.
I mean, Jules Verne was way ahead. They were way ahead of their time, but at the same time, it was different. They didn't. I don't know. I just think it really changed after. Maybe it caught up after Sputnik. I don't know, but to some degree. But I think the atomic age changed a lot. But like you said, I mean, most evils came from some sort of atomic experiment that went south or awry, and so he's I don't know when he actually started writing books, but this came out in the 50s, and that's after the atomic age has dawned, so to speak. That genie's out of the bottle. So they've got to be thinking. I mean, I'm sure. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, isn't a lot of that out of our fear of we don't know what would happen?
Oh, I'm sure.
Really did.
Certainly.
It is.
And it's like I was talking about, and that Tina missed earlier because she was playing with the shadows and stuff, was or Tracy's paper. We all these movies came about nuclear accidents. They got a hold of nuclear waste somehow, or an atomic bomb created Godzilla by messing DNA. And that's what was going on at these nuclear experiment sites. They were burying nuclear waste out in the middle of what was kind of nowhere at the time, thinking somehow that was safe, and it really wasn't safe. We know that now, but we didn't know that then. And, three-headed frogs started showing up, and two-headed snakes, which actually do still happen occasionally.
Yep.
For example, on Oak Ridge, they allow people to deer hunt on certain parts of Oak Ridge Reservation, but you have to take them through a Geiger counter before you can take it home.
Yep.
And if it buzzes hot, you have to leave it. You don't get anything from it, and that does happen. I've known people that I worked in that business for a long time, the wildlife business, and I knew people that worked that check station, and deer still come out of there hot, or they don't go out. Actually, they don't leave, but people do actually kill one from time to time. But the point is, we didn't know. I mean, I honestly think some people didn't know what it was doing to things or could do to things, and some people didn't know and were afraid and tried to tell people. I think people like Asimov and some of these other folks may have been warning us, be aware of robots. They're going to come and get you.
Like I say, he even uses the sciences, the gamma rays and the different wavelengths of light, and that because that's how I'm gonna bring it back around to our story.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You brought up great points because it's where we're kind of going. They come up with this test to find out who the robots are, which robot it is, and they basically stick them in individual little alcoves in a circle in this room, and they put a guy in a chair with a box over his head, because they discover that the fact that because the first law is modified in the robots' minds, they can now reason to the fact that they don't have to save a human because it won't interfere with the third law now. Because now the third law is higher than the first law. They don't have to. They're not told to save a human. They're more now going to look after themselves because that's the third law. So they put this guy in the chair and they try and drop a box on his head. Well, they still, part of the first law is that humans can't do harm. They can't do harm to a human, but they are still supposed to be able to. They're supposed to save a human if it's in danger. So that's part of the modified law. So they drop this box, and of course they have it to where just before it hits the guy, it'll knock it off, so he doesn't actually get hit. And so the robots will get up and move. Well, they start to introduce different things that then cause the robots to not want to move. And they discover the fact that because the new robots have never worked with gamma radiation and don't know the science of it, because they weren't programmed with the science on Earth, because they're not allowed to program the robots on Earth. They just, assemble, or they just put the parts and then they assemble them on the station.
Right. I assume they're still doing that.
That's where they figure out how to catch number 10, because they tell all the robots, they themselves lie to the robot and tell them that, okay, well, you have to now try and save this guy, but we're going to put gamma radiation in front of you. Well, gamma radiation will destroy the robots. And so they now they know that self-preservation, they are not going to move because of the third law now. And so that's how they catch number 10, because he knows about the gamma radiation, but then realizes that, no, they're actually using infrared. And and so he gets caught in the lie, because everybody else thinks that it's gamma radiation. I know that's very confusing to explain. It's easier to read it.
No,
yeah.
Did they ever, Russ? Did they ever? I thought about this too, and then I forgot about it. But one of the reasons they altered 10 or whoever the ones that they altered, in this case 10, but the humans could withstand gamma radiation for 20 or 25 minutes. They were saying,
right?
I think something like that, and they would show no harm, or supposedly no harm. So that's what they wanted to keep the robot from running out there and saving him. And then they said gamma radiation would also destroy the robot. Did they ever say how long the robot could stay in the gamma? If they did, I missed that.
I think the robots are the same thing. They could withstand a certain amount, but they can't withstand a lethal dose. Okay. And that's what they were saying that they were going to do. They were going to put a lethal dose of gamma radiation in front of them. But then they ended up not doing that. They ended up actually putting it in there as infrared. But because those robots had never been programmed with the science of infrared or gamma rays, they didn't know the difference. And so because of their self-preservation law, they didn't move. Well, number 10 saw through the lie that it wasn't really gamma radiation. It was actually infrared. But he didn't know that all the other robots didn't know that. And so that's why he gets up and gets caught.
So doing a little research, science fiction, it goes back a long time, but the golden age of science fiction was 1938 to 1946. That's what they consider the golden age. And Isaac Asimov actually wrote that what the downfall of the golden age, or when it finally went down, is in 1955 or 1957 imagination, or 1958 in October 57, the successful launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik narrowed the gap between real world and world of science fiction, sending the West into the space race with the East, and Asimov shifted into writing more non-science fiction or nonfiction in hope to attract young minds to science. So that's kind of where he changed his mind to. But the thing is what he failed to realize is, yes, he shifted to nonfiction, but a lot of the scientists that are out there took that science fiction and made it real.
Right.
If you talk to a lot of scientists today, or even in the space age, they'll tell you that Star Wars and Star Trek was a huge influence on what they're doing today. So.
Yep.
Oh, someone's time to go.
Let me go, but look at we're 3 minutes out.
It is. Dang, it is 4 o'clock.
I know. Yeah. We could probably talk about this all evening, but I'm not worried about trampling on anyone's toes, because my next show is up next.
Yeah.
So,
Tina, you are a streaming fool.
Seriously. So wrapping up, let's go around and we can talk about our channels or what we do or something like that.
Well,
go ahead, Tim. Tracy?
Go ahead, Tim, because I don't think Tim. Do you
I don't stream? No, the only thing I'm doing is working on that radio station stuff with Bill Garrow and his troop deployment radio programs that I put out 1 or 2 a week for him. So that's all cool. I'm working on right now.
Okay,
that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, Russ, how about you?
I've got a video coming out tomorrow. It's a cooking video. And then Saturday, we're going to be meeting to do some painting and some possible crafting and type stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Sunday's Nerd Talk on my channel. So
Nerd Talk.
Nerd Talk. Talking Mandalorian, baby.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Or episode 11. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it again.
I'm finally on episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway through.
Well, you're almost caught up then.
I'm almost caught up.
Yeah, you're on the last episode there, so you're at the cliffhanger.
No. Episode. Remember, there's only 8. Well, no, there was 10 last year. Was it 8 or there was only 8? So she's actually into the new season. If she's in chapter 9.
Oh, that's right. She's right. Yeah, she's okay.
Yep. All right, Brenda. Let's talk about your wonderful aprons in your Etsy shop.
Oh yeah, let me wait. Hey, let me wait until you put something in your mouth, and then I'll ask you a question.
Sorry.
I just put a piece of ice in my mouth.
I love it.
The ice cruncher. No, this is starting Christmas.
Oh wait, hold on.
Christmas cactus.
Oh my god, so cute. I love it.
So that's the beginning of it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to find Disney Christmas material, and my favorite Joann's store does not have it, so I'm going to have to go other places.
Oh my goodness!
Or look on a site called Spoonflowers. They have tons of fabric that people design themselves.
Yeah, I got a piece of Haunted Mansion. I'm going to say Haunted Mansion because it wasn't exactly. But I ended up sending it to Cargo from So Cargo, and she turned it into a tote for me. So,
cool.
My bag that I read of. But yeah,
Tim, go ahead and drop that link. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'll find it and I'll do that. I'm working on it right now.
Okay. Brenda's link is in the description. When Tim gets, you're getting the magic of the mouse.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tim is gathering while we do that.
Save me a bite, Tracy.
Huh?
Save me a bite.
It's frozen, and it's actually like, ooh, so good.
Hold on. Everyone needs to be quiet. Tracy's having a moment. So bad. Oh my god. I'll wait till you're done, then you can talk about your channel.
No. Thursday, not wasting time. I have to figure out what I'm doing. Probably going to steal everybody else's idea and go chase the sunsets. Who knows? Then Nerd Talk on Saturday or Sunday. Okay. Sunday on What in the World with Russ.
Oh, I see. Tim dropped the link. That's the link for the Magic of the Mouse radio, or what is it called?
Come on.
It's music and it's good, so go listen to it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting back there. I said that link. If you look down below that link, the link I sent to one of my shows because he had sent me a link to it recently. But if you go down below that link, anybody's interested, he's got the links for the other parts of the radio programs.
Here.
And he's also just started. I'm not trying to step on you, Tracy. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man. I'm fine. I'm done.
He also just started a Disney music radio station too, and that just came out this week. I believe it's official now. So there's some good music on there too. I think he told me last night he's downloaded over 500 Disney songs now on that station. Wow. And I can't remember how many rock and roll songs he's got. I mean, it's in the thousands at this point that he's gotten access to put on this radio station. I mean, it was for his son who was deploying in Saudi Arabia recently, and but you can listen to it over here or over there, and it's for anybody who wants to hear it. But I mean, his son Bill is kind of where it got started, or how it got started. Cool. He asked me to try to do a show, and I've never done anything like this before. So I apologize up front if you listen to it and laugh, but it's the best. I'm learning. Okay. I'm working on it. I'm getting a little better, I think.
Yeah.
Do what?
We like laughing. It's okay.
Everybody's got to start somewhere, Tim. So.
That's right.
Yeah. That's what
we all laugh at ourselves too, going back. So.
Oh my God, I can't watch my first couple streams. They're horrible.
You guys.
All right, Tina. I think that's it. You're up again in what? A minute?
Yeah, no, I said it before 10. So we're going to talk about our favorite Thanksgiving, or at least not fully Thanksgiving movies, because there's not a whole lot of them.
There's one that I know of. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's it.
Yeah, I've never seen that one. Mine, you'll find out on the show what my number one go-to is. And then I have a vlog coming up this week. I made an apple pie from memory, and you'll have to wait to see how it came out. So I think that's it. All right, guys, thank you for joining.
I promise to read up. I'll make sure. We're doing the next 2 chapters, right?
Yeah. So, well, do we just want to finish the book?
I was going to say, do we want to just try and finish or no?
Well,
Sure.
we could. I mean, there are only 3 chapters left.
Yeah, and one of them's really short. So, I mean.
Okay. Well, why don't we just plan on that, and then we'll see how far we can get.
All right.
Yeah, and then we'll have to pick a new book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tale of Two Cities, or
We're picking a chick flick this time.
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
the Bronte sisters.
We'll talk about it after.
All right,
guys.
I'll talk to you later.
Have a great day, night, week.
Bye bye.